Were you getting your anime illegally? Shame on you. Are scarves the new surfboard? Mike Mignola says it might have to be crooked for it to feel right. Do Jewish space damn it, I was so close. Do Jewish space lasers mean better film quality? All this and more on Comically Inclined Live. Cutting edge. Welcome to Cutting Edge Hero! I am the Nerd King, Danny Stewart, your host for this show. And don't you just hate it when you accidentally say your ex's name? But also, I am joined today in the studio after a 1 week absence by the incredible, lovely, handsome, and sexual Landon Felter. Landon, say hi to the nice people.
And 1 week later, he returned from the dead. Hello, everybody.
He is risen. Also, our human relations specialist and fact checker extraordinaire, Ben Stewart, should be in the chat anytime now. Ben, when you land, say hi to the nice people. I'm just glad that you're here, Landon. Damien did a great job filling in last week, but it just feels right to have you over there in the booth.
I mean, it's good to know that he's gunning for my job now. It's
true.
It's nice to know I have competition and what their face is. So
it's funny because he's not named after Damian Wayne, but there is a real like Damian Wayne dynamic there because you're like the adopted son, and then Damian's like the biological son, and then he's trying to take your spot. You know, so it's just kind of a Robin dynamic there, I think.
Damn, it's crazy to think I'm Tim Drake.
Ooh, that's true. Which one would you choose to be?
Still probably Tim, honestly.
Dick Grayson is my favorite. Oh, actually, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, is my favorite DC superhero, like of all time.
Really?
Yep, absolutely.
As a man who, what are you up to? 5 Batman costumes now? You're gonna say Nightwing?
But so that's the thing. I literally am Batman. Batman's favorite superhero isn't Batman. That would be very vain. My favorite superhero is Nightwing. He's the best. He's the best of them all, you know? And
Fair.
then, unfortunately, Nightwing's favorite superhero is Superman. So he's like, yeah, that's my dad. Like, he's not my favorite.
He's traumatized me a lot. He can't be my favorite.
Yeah. There's a lot of trauma bonding between Bruce and Dick. What is the nerdiest thing you have done this week, Landon?
The nerdiest thing I've done this week is further my education. I've been mostly studying. I haven't had much time for nerdy stuff unless you count scrolling YouTube. I have played a bit of Stellaris, if you've heard of that.
I have.
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of that in my free time, but not much free time to go. So
yeah, my nerdiest thing also falls into gaming. They dropped I'm assuming all of the Sword Art Online games onto PlayStation Plus, and I downloaded all 5 of the ones available and have tried them out. They haven't been great. There's Ben, our human relations specialist and fact checker extraordinaire, is in the chat. Ben, say hi to the nice folk.
They haven't been great.
They're not great, no. They're all made by the same company, and they all use the exact same combat system, and I'm not a fan of it.
Oh, so it's kind of just like you would get a yearly Call of Duty. It's almost the same as the last one. They're putting out yearly Sword Art Online games.
Yeah, and then they have a Gun Gale online game that falls into there where you actually do just play in the Gun Gale world instead of on the Sword Art world, and it's the same combat but with guns, which is just weird, I think.
All right. I'll have to take your word for it.
Okay, yeah, I don't blame you if you don't want to get into that. Landon, do you want to talk about some hot, steamy news?
Oh, always.
Well, how about you fire those bullet points at me? I feel like we don't have a lot of people in the chat, and I feel like it's because they're used to our like 7:15, 7:30 launch time. And
Yeah.
we actually went live at 7 today.
Yeah, I noticed that too. We were on time for once, and nobody else was.
Right? Yeah, yeah. It's like we didn't give them the leeway to get prepared for the show, and now it's just you and me. But that's okay. And Ben's here. And I know what the nerdiest thing Ben has done this week is, and it's the same as the nerdiest thing I've done for the last couple of weeks. He just finished the first book in the Stormlight Archive, and we've been talking about it pretty regularly. So we're pretty excited about that. But anyway, let's kick it off talking about tabletop gaming. In the tabletop gaming scene, it is the last day for the Stormlight Archive or Cosmere TTRPG Kickstarter. Now the most funded TTRPG Kickstarter of all time. They did have the fastest first day of all time, which was their earnings of $4.5 million in day one of the launch of the Kickstarter. But the Kickstarter ends tonight at the end of the day tonight. And they have raised a total of, and this was the last time I checked, it's probably gone up, a total of like $12.5 million for this TTRPG system set in Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere universe.
Well, like you said, every different series has its own magic system.
Yes.
So this is going to take a lot of development time to get all those systems working.
So
correctly.
at launch, they are going to have the Stormlight Archive source book and player's handbook available, and the Mistborn source book and player's handbook available. And then they're going to roll out the other worlds like Elantris and Warbreaker and what's the third one? Mistborn Era 2. And it's just it's exciting. It's really exciting. If I had someone to donate the $300 to get the full player system kickstarted, I would totally have one.
You want to start a GoFundMe to fund a Kickstarter?
I don't have time. Today's the last day that's available. Yeah. A GoFundMe to fund a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. But no, yeah, I would love to have it, but yeah, we're gonna have to hold off on that. D&D Beyond, they made a change to the D&D Beyond system. Are you familiar with D&D Beyond at all?
I'm not too familiar. I know a lot of people that use it, but I don't use it myself.
I'm going to sneeze. I've been fighting the sneeze this whole time.
Kumquat. Damn it.
It didn't work. Anyway, so D&D Beyond made the change where they turned the player creation sheet in their app to only be the 2024 player handbook version. And noticeably, some people who have been playing since the 2014 player handbook dropped were a little upset about the fact that they could no longer access their characters. So D&D Beyond Wizards of the Coast is now backpedaling on that and going to allow, if you own the 2014 player handbook in D&D Beyond, you'll be able to use the 2014 player sheet. And if you only own the 2024 player handbook, you will only be able to use the 2024 player creation sheet. Me personally, I do a physical PDF sheet anyway, so I have found that Roll20 and D&D Beyond and programs of their like are just really limited. Like, they're so hard to use, and I know that that's like the thing that people use so they can play online with other people, so they can give them digital access to their player sheet and their like maps and all that kind of stuff. But I just, for my money, I've never seen where it was worthwhile to download and use Roll20 or D&D Beyond.
I've tried using it before, or at least I've used a system like that before. There was like an app at one point, and I just really couldn't get into it. I'm very much a fan of like physical paper sheet, able to draw my character on it, stuff like that, even though I'm a terrible artist. And I could never get behind like an app sort of thing.
Well, like my problem with it is like, especially with D&D Beyond, you have to buy each individual source book to be able to use the materials of it in your game. So if you have bought the physical book to play in person with people, you have to again buy the book a second time in digital to be able to use it with D&D Beyond. And I don't know anyone that has that kind of money.
If I feel as though this is run by Wizards of the Coast, right?
Correct.
I feel as though they should have just like a little code inside, like some sort of something you can redeem just to use the book with the app. Because like I said, I don't use the program, but people should be able to use their stuff with it.
Yeah, and fans have been, or D&D players have been begging for something akin to that. Billy Rhodes says, "Oh no, I haven't missed your review of The Crow, have I?" No, Billy, we're gonna do that after the bullet points. But yeah, it would be like people are begging them to make it to where you can buy the physical D&D source book and use it in D&D Beyond because it just makes sense, and they have made no moves to making that happen. That being said, if you go to the Kickstarter, you just watch the number go up because people are rushing to get a pledge in, I guess. Yes, absolutely. I was going to check the actual official numbers real quick so we can do that. I know that it's like, yeah, it's 4,948% backed, and the original backing number was $100,000. It now is the pledges are and they upped the pledge number. So initially the pledge was 100,000. Now the pledge is 250,000, and the pledge numbers are currently at $12,370,202 for the Cosmere role playing game system. So Billy said, "Are the ebooks not only like $8?" No, they are full price in D&D Beyond. Whenever you go into the market on the D&D Beyond app, they're like $25 to $30 a source book.
And like they don't even give you like a PDF, right, or anything like
No.
that. It's something you can only use in the app.
You can only use it in D&D Beyond. You cannot use it outside of it. And yes, it's been one of the most frustrating things about D&D Beyond. And honestly, it's the one thing I think keeping most people from using it. Like they would have a huge, massive influx if you could just take the source books you already own and upload them into D&D Beyond and use them. And so it's just, and your game is based on the rules that your source books allow you to have. So like if there's a rule or a spell that exists in like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and you don't own that book, you cannot use it in your game. Like even though it's D&D canon and official, and you could use it in any like pen and paper game, you can't use it on D&D Beyond. But anyway, that's enough bitching about D&D Beyond. I just wish that they would do something to kind of fix that system. It's been broken since day one. Over in anime news, the 2017 Nightmare Before Christmas manga is being re-released this year in full color. So if you missed it the first time around, or you just want to get your hands on a full color version, the full color Nightmare Before Christmas will be dropping this year around Christmas time. Have you caught any of these Disney mangas?
I have not even known that Disney mangas were a thing.
Yes. So I bought Katrina. The Stitch and the Samurai manga, and it's literally Stitch lands in feudal Japan instead of landing in like Hawaii in the like 1990s, I guess. When did Stitch come out? Doesn't matter. And this brutal like feudal Japanese warlord finds Stitch so cute that he gives up war entirely and just starts going on adventures with Stitch.
That is wonderful.
It's the silliest shit, but it's the Disney manga is kind of fun and I think worthwhile. And I've never read the Nightmare Before Christmas manga, but I kind of want to, especially now with the full color release. A slew of anime streaming services or anime streaming sites have been shut down in an attempt to squash piracy. Sites like Funimation, which is no longer in existence, and Crunchyroll, and then obviously Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, they all have like different anime properties that they're streaming now because anime is officially one of the most popular formats for entertainment in the world, and even in the United States now. They're all like, hey, stop showing our shit for free. And they have banded together to destroy these sites. So if you used Anime Suga, Anime Wave, or 123 Anime, those sites are all officially down now.
And they will stay down until they come up with a new name to put them up under.
Absolutely. And I as soon as I read this article, I went to WCOstream.com to see if it was still up. It's still up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I can't find a dubbed anime that I want to watch, and they're just releasing it slowly, like One Piece was a great example of this. Like they're just not dropping them that fast. I just go to WCO Stream and they're all there. And it's like, well, I already pay for the streaming service, so I can use this. It's fine. But
I mean, finding sites for anime has never been difficult. Honestly, you can just search up the anime you want to find, and you'll find it. It's not even that deep in like the Google search. It's really close to the top.
nothing is more frustrating for me than whenever I Google uncensored hentai and the website I land on says it's uncensored and it is censored.
That is the fucking worst.
Right. Yeah, that's my nightmare. And it happens more often than I'd like to admit. Billy said, great. First hentai haven gets shuts down. And now this. See, I love that I found my tribe. Just the three of us. And Ben's going to chime in with some hentai related thing.
Everybody, please talk about your favorite hentai.
Yeah, everybody put your 5 favorite hentai in the chat. We'll go over that. Well, actually, that'll be next week's list for the hit list. 5 favorite hentai. I think I have my top 3 like right off the top of my head. They're just the ones I go back to regularly. Anyway, doesn't matter. Toyotaru, artist behind Dragon Ball Super, says the manga will return despite Toriyama's passing. Now, obviously, we're getting a new Dragon Ball series or new Dragon Ball anime that is dropping. I believe early next year. But Super has just been kind of sitting since Superhero came and went. But he's saying that we will get new Dragon Ball Super stories and we will continue the arcs of the various fights. And now that we have Super Orange, Billy said, I don't remember the titles, but I can give you the numbers. But now that we have like a Super Orange Piccolo and Goku is back using Beast form, Saiyan Beast form, those stories will continue. Over in comics, Aliens versus Avengers is introducing T'Challa's son, Azari, as the new Black Panther. So this is a cell from the new Aliens versus Avengers comic, and that is Azari, the new Black Panther. So if you guys will remember, in the MCU, they introduced T'Challa's son, T'Challa, in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And now Marvel is canonizing a younger son of T'Challa taking over the mantle of Black Panther as well. Now that Aliens versus Avengers story does take place in the very near future of the 616 Prime universe, but as to whether we'll actually have any of that canonized eventually, probably not. But you can see the direction Marvel's heading with the Black Panther character.
Yeah, it's gotten more popular, I should say. So they're wanting to expand on it. It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, obviously with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, they took some time away from putting Black Panther on screens as the T'Challa, and their intent is to introduce another Black Panther that isn't T'Challa but is an homage to Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa character. And that's hard because T'Challa has almost always been the Black Panther in the Marvel comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is Black Panther. There's been a few others. Shuri has obviously taken up the mantle a couple of times, and I believe Storm, shortly after they were no longer married, was the Black Panther for a minute. And obviously there's ancestors and stuff like that who have carried the mantle, but normally the status quo for Black Panther is that it is T'Challa. And so the MCU has a real struggle to use that character without using T'Challa as the person under the mask.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the case for just about every superhero out there. Like Batman, Dick Grayson has been Batman in the past. What's his name? Azariel.
Yeah, it's Azrael is his name. John Paul Valley is his actual name. Azrael is his alternate identity. That was during the Nightfall storyline. Azrael John Paul Valley is the one that defeated Bane after Bruce couldn't. Mm-hmm. But he wore a freaking Iron Man costume as Batman. Like he had robot arms and a helmet and like claws. Like he was not standing on like his just skill and ability and power, unlike Bruce,
Yeah.
Billy says he did see some interesting news about Absolute Batman. Drop it in the chat, Billy. But yeah, no, but there also has never been a sitting Batman in costume who died in between films. And they had to find some way around that while honoring his memory. Like it's the story of Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa is it's a very rare case. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see. In Miss Marvel, Herald of Tomorrow, which I believe just dropped, is written by Iman Vellani, who you will know as the MCU's Miss Marvel, the actual actress who plays Miss Marvel. She is actually helming this comic as the writer. And in this story, it takes place in the, again, near future of the Marvel Universe. Kamala Khan has retired from superheroing. She is focusing on being a wife and a mother. And then a wheelchair-bound Captain America comes and convinces her to become the new Herald of Galactus. And she goes and gets her scarf out of a museum and slaps it back on and puts on her Miss Marvel costume and starts leading Galactus around the universe, finding planets that are safe to consume. So if you want to check that out, it is Miss Marvel, Herald of Tomorrow, out today. Apparently, the lunch tray bat symbol can detach from his chest, and it becomes a battle axe. I don't doubt that that's a thing in the comics, but how would that work?
I mean, I've seen images of it. I have no idea.
Yeah, I get that like the bat signal was a battering that like popped out and he could use, but going from that to a full on battle axe on your chest, that seems a bit hard. Like and obviously he's massive. Like he is so incredibly massive that maybe it's just nothing to him. But Jesus Christ, that's
the absolute storyline is just an excuse for the writers to fuck around.
They are doing some shit. Emerald Stewart, my oldest daughter, is in the chat, and she says she's going to need some proof. I don't have it. We'll have to look it up. Over in TV, Rings of Power Season 2's first 3 episodes drops tomorrow. So if you've been waiting to see Rings of Power Season 2, figure out whether the stranger is Gandalf or is Gandalf, the first 3 episodes of the season will drop tomorrow and move the story along, and we'll get to see sexy Sauron doing ring stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of the brunt of the show, really. Playmates has picked up the Power Ranger toy rights from Hasbro, which means that the Lightning collection is coming to an end. You can still pick up the Power Morpher replica from Entertainment Earth. It is currently on sale. They have a couple different deals going on, but so this is out of the Lightning collection line. It will be going away, so strike while the iron's hot. Get it before it goes away forever. Let's see. That's my turning the page song. In movies, Hellboy, the Crooked Man, has dropped their first poster. Now, Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy, says that this is the closest he has ever seen to somebody doing Hellboy right on screen. And he said that it is just mind-blowing to him that they're actually including things from the comics that he thought he would never see on screen. And so, according to him, this is the best version of Hellboy on screen to date. So I'm waiting for it to drop. I'm excited. I don't think it's getting a full theatrical release. It's probably getting a limited release. But I am excited for whenever I can get my hands on it. You a Hellboy fan at all?
I've seen a couple of the movies, but it's been so long I barely remember.
There's only 3 prior to this one.
Well, then I've seen 2 out of 3 movies.
Yeah, there's the 2 Ron Perlman ones, and then the God, what is his name? The guy that's
the Ron Perlman ones are the ones I saw.
Yeah. And then the sheriff from Stranger Things, he was Hellboy for a movie that didn't do very well at all. And then now they're doing this one with Liev Schreiber's little brother, whose name I cannot remember his first name.
Yeah, but Hellboy is more of like a detective type in the comics, right?
Yeah, so he works for the BPRD, which is a paranormal investigation agency similar to like the CIA. David Harbour, thank you, Keaton. I'm glad you're here. Love you, Keaton. And historically in the comics, like both the first 2 Ron Perlman Hellboy movies, it's like he's just out there to like save the universe from hell. And that's just not what most of Hellboy's comics are. Usually he's just a gun-toting, cigar-smoking detective who's like actually trying to solve a mystery, and that just never happens in the movies.
Yeah,
up to this one.
I saw a bit of the television show, the animated television show they had, and it was a lot more like that.
That's usually it's very rare that he solves his problems with brawn and his big ass gun. It's more often he's chasing some occult mystery, very similar to Constantine. Very similar to Constantine in that way. Terrifier 3-star David Howard Thornton says one scene in the new film is so gory that he almost vomited on the set. So that's great. I haven't seen them yet. I need to. David Howard Thornton and the director Damien Leone are coming to Cape Con 24, November 1st through 3rd, and he will be here dressed as Art the Clown, taking photos and signing autographs with people. And I kind of need to see the movies before I meet the guy, but I don't spend a lot of time watching horror films.
I'm not the biggest horror fan, but they have been put towards the top of my list because they're going to be showing up here.
Well, I actually have a date on the calendar that I'm going to go to my best friend Scott's house and watch Terrifier 1 and 2 on his big screen. So, yes.
Oh, you got a date with your best friend. Hell
I got
yeah.
a date with my best friend. We see each other so rarely. Like maybe once every 6 months I hang out with my best friend. We're adults. We have lives. He's got small kids.
You got adult friendships.
Yeah, we just never see each other. But like, he's literally, besides my wife, the greatest human being that exists. Emma says, I love my dad's husband. Me too. Me too, kid. Yeah, my kids refer to him as their stepdad. But anyway, the movie is premiering September 19th at Fantastic Fest and then releases on October 11th for all of us to consume in the open. Now, that being said, there may be a watch along with David Howard Thornton and Damien Leone happening at Cape Con, but we'll see. Keep your eye out for the details. Anyway, in other movie news, to celebrate Batman's 85th anniversary, they are re-releasing The Batman in theaters today. And to celebrate that, they are giving Batman his own popcorn bucket. Folks. It is that's the bucket right there coming from AMC Theaters. It is a working bat signal. Now, you'll notice the noticeable lack of a sex hole on this, so it's not following the Dune and Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket path that has been set. But, that's out of the 3 sets of popcorn buckets, that's the one I want the most.
It's still in the top 3 of most fuckable popcorn buckets.
Yes, it just drips sex appeal. But anyway, if you live somewhere near an AMC theater, the popcorn bucket's like $35 if you want to take one home. Transformers 1's release will spearhead the launch of laser projectors. So apparently there is a new kind of projector coming out. It is the HDR by Barco, and it uses lasers as opposed to like an image projected through an image, or a light projected through an image to project. It's actually just using lasers to form the image. And it is supposed to create bright, dynamic images for a visually immersive experience. And also, to celebrate the release of Transformers 1, we have gotten a new poster. This one here shows Orion and I forget his name, but the 2 characters that will eventually become Optimus Prime and Megatron. They are bros at the start of this movie, and then after Orion claims the Allspark and becomes Optimus Prime, Megatron, in his jealousy, will become the leader of the evil Decepticons, and a war that will span millennia will begin on Cybertron. So I'm excited about it. I love the Transformers. Huge Transformers fan. Optimus Prime, my favorite Transformer of all time. And I love that this story, from what I understand, is actually really encompasses the early lore of the Transformers universe. And it is an homage to like Generation 1 and the original Transformers movie, which is the best Transformers movie. If you haven't seen it, the animated Transformers movie from the 80s, hands down, the greatest Transformers movie ever made, with an incredible soundtrack. Don't believe me? I own it on 2 different DVD formats, the 20th anniversary and the standard edition. And you can come over and watch it with me sometime. I love Transformers.
That an invitation or?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to sit down and watch Transformers with you.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And anyone else? Deontay, you want to come over and watch Transformers with me? Keaton? Emma, of course, you're always welcome. Billy, please come watch Transformers with me. Yes, Deontay, you know your way. You can come sit on my lap while we record the show. And finally, in movie news, and actually the end of my part for the bullet points, Quentin Tarantino, I put this in here for Billy. Keaton says he's coming too. Quentin Tarantino says that his Star Trek movie is never going to happen. Billy says Waspinator is his favorite Transformer. Yeah, Waspinator is a good choice. I love Beast Wars, but I'm a sucker for Gen 1 Optimus Prime. Absolutely. But anyway, so there was a rumor dropped many, many years ago that Quentin Tarantino was working on a Star Wars film or a Star Trek film. And Quentin Tarantino says that was never happening. He never did any work on a Star Trek film, and it was never going to be made. Now, the funny thing about this is that after the director made these statements, there was a follow-up interview with the writer of the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek film that he was working with, who said that, yeah, we sat down, we worked on it, we had some meetings, there was definitely a script being written. So at some point he was working on a Star Trek film. So, just proof it's Quentin Tarantino's world and we just live in it.
I can't imagine what a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie would look like.
I can't wrap my head around it. That's like the idea of like a Quentin Tarantino Mickey Mouse film. Like
because like his movies are just incredibly cynical, and like Star Trek is about like idealism and optimism, and
yeah, I cannot picture Quentin Tarantino telling a story within a futuristic military that is going around planet to planet spreading their views on people that doesn't come out as like Starship Troopers.
The only way I could really think of it is if it was about, similar to the show, the lower deck people, like the ensigns, all the people there, the grunts, and followed like a group of them or something like that.
Billy says I'm happy about his Star Trek movie. It's never going to happen.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm with you, Billy. I'm glad it's never happening either.
It could possibly be the first Star Trek movie to feature a main character having a heroin overdose.
You know what? That'd be something. That
would be a thing. Yeah. Or someone in a GIMP mask getting railed from behind. Just stuff like that. Just things Tarantino puts in his movies.
To be fair, I'm sure the GIMP mask part has happened on the holodeck at least 50,000 times.
Off screen, absolutely. Billy said it would be bad. A lot of white people dropping N-bombs, and I'm writing his fetishes into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so, you go to the holodeck, and it's one giant foot in there. Hell yeah.
He could suck on so many alien toes. Landon, what do we got over in the world of gaming?
All right, so 2 main points for today. 1, the Amazon Games CEO, Christoph Hartmann, has said that AI has nothing to do with taking work away from actors because for games, we don't really have acting.
What?
Yeah. He straight up said that, that's not really acting when you're doing VAs for video games.
What the hell?
Yeah, and this is from the CEO of Amazon Games, best known for such IPs like and also. So he knows what he's talking about.
That's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Especially with more modern games where they do full-on mocaps and they're using the actors' actual faces along with the voice recordings.
Yeah, a lot of people are losing their shit over this. But then again, it's from the CEO of Amazon Games who haven't done shit.
Yes.
They are working on Lord of the Rings MMO, but
Keaton said, "Oh, I fucking love those games." A Lord of the Rings MMO, dude. It's true though. Like This seems like news until you really dissect it down to the fact that this is a guy that's the CEO of a video game studio that has put out nothing.
Yeah, it is. It is a person without a license telling you how to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. It is your perpetually single friend giving you relationship advice. Oh no! At least he didn't break in half. My Darth Maul fell. I do have a Darth Maul that breaks in half. See my little guy? Whoop! Magnets, how do they work?
Movie accurate Darth Maul. Hell yeah.
Yes, with real getting cut in half by a Padawan action. Hey, what was your second piece of news?
And the second piece is about Secret Level, the new Amazon Prime show, another Amazon story, that's telling stories that take place in worlds of various video games, such as Armored Core, D&D, Warhammer 40K. You're really excited for the Mega Man one.
Who isn't excited for the Mega Man one?
Apparently, Pac-Man is on the list as well.
Hell yeah.
The God of
Wonka,
War
wonka,
series.
Wonka, 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 wonka.
But yeah, at first when I first heard this, I was like, "Oh, that sounds really lame." Just have like an anthology story telling small individual things, small individual stories in various video game worlds. But then I saw it was from the people who made Love, Death, Robots, and then I actually got kind of excited. Like, oh, this might actually be good.
You know, when I watched the trailer, you know what this felt like to me?
What did it feel like?
Ready Player One, but just the good parts. You know, just like the superheroes and video game characters showing up on screen in a movie. It was like the exciting part of the movie.
Yeah, the parts of Ready Player One that weren't the story or the plot, but the fan service. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, the good parts. Whenever a Gundam and Optimus Prime both showed up on screen together. Yeah, that's that works for me.
Yeah, and then whenever the Iron Giant came on and used himself like a gun, and I got really sad.
You should. You should. You actually missed the point of the Iron Giant if he shows up and is happily using himself as a gun.
Yeah. But that's everything from me, unless you had more to say about
No, I'm just excited about Secret Level. I think that the D&D stuff, I really want to see the Mega Man story, and I want to know if that is something that they are like, is that Capcom has officially licensed to be canon to Mega Man's story, or if it's just a fun adventure in Mega Man's world. And the same thing with Kratos and God of War. Like, I love Kratos' story, and there's a lot of room to play there, but like, is this going to be a canon story, or is this just going to be like where they take these characters and tell a story that has no consequences and no bearing on their actual lore?
I would prefer it to be all non-canon stories myself, because I know none of these studios are going to agree to make. Not all of these studios are going to agree to make the stories canon. Some would agree to make them canon, others wouldn't, and I would prefer none of them to be canon than like this hodgepodge of this is, but this isn't.
I would just like them to, yes, work together and agree on it, because I don't want them to have to wait 20 years to make something really cool that happens in Secret Level become canon to the character, because it was never a canon story and they didn't agree on it to begin with. You know, like Broly from the Dragon Ball Z movies. Like, you know, it took forever for Akira Toriyama to be like, yeah, Broly's kind of cool. And I can think of some other instances where things like this have happened, you know, like the Legend of Zelda cartoon where Link spoke, you know.
I'm not really too sure what way they're going to be taking this. And honestly, you're trying to get two entities that are very corporate, very protective of their IPs, try to agree on something involving these IPs.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to turn out. It's not going to be smooth.
Agreed. Unless that shit was written in stone before they decided to go. Jody Meredith is in our Instagram. Jody, what is up? Glad you are here. I apologize. I can't see Instagram quotes or comments on our main screen. I have to look down on my phone to see them. So glad you're here. Thank you for being part of the show. I will say I went last Friday, with our good friend of the show, Billy Rhodes, and Deontay the Giant, Deontay Lifter, and our friend Robert. And we went and saw, Landon had to sit out because he was not feeling well. Went and saw the new Crow movie. It was awful. It was an awful experience for me.
You don't say.
I do say, I told Billy before we went into the movie, I said, Billy, I feel like this is going to be the only film that causes me actual physical harm to sit and watch it. And it was a very near thing. This movie does not know what the hell it's doing. From like the beginning of the movie, they had no direction. It is all over the place. The acting, I won't comment on the actors, but I will comment on the direction they received. And it was very, very poorly done. Like, they just like, I guess the start of the movie, they're like junkies and you're supposed to be like, oh, they must be high, but it was like high faces. Like, it was really bad. And nobody was like, hey, that's not the face you should make.
It was like 90s, 2000s comedy high faces.
It was bad. Yeah, it was really bad. The acting not great. And then like they start out in a addiction treatment facility, which is where Shelley and Eric meet each other. And can I get personal for just a second?
It's your show. Go nuts.
It is my show. That's true. I am a recovering alcoholic, and I have been through a lot of like 12-step programs and like recovery stuff. And like the scenes where they are in the recovery facility is what someone in active addiction currently using like hard drugs thinks a recovery facility looks like, and not what actual recovery facilities are like. All of the like therapists helping them with their 12-step program are assholes, or just like Melvin Milquetoast, who are like, yeah, you're going to talk about your feelings. And the guards are literally like beating the shit out of these people who are in there to get help for their drug addictions. And they lock them in prison cells and they torture them. And like Eric has a fucking razor blade on a toothbrush, like prison, like actual prison, not like a mental health facility where people go to get help for drug use. And it was like, this is like a fever dream. Like, this is like, it was like Clockwork Orange, but like really poorly done. Which, I don't know if you know this, but mental health facilities have advanced a long, long way from the 1970s.
So was it basically they wanted to be like, the director or the writer, whoever, would have preferred to have started this in a prison, but they were told a mental health facility, so they were like, "No, fuck you, I'm doing my own thing."
I don't think there was that kind of. I don't think there was that kind of forethought. I think they were like, these are wild, crazy kids with like tattoos on their faces, so obviously they do a lot of drugs. And what would their nightmare be? Well, obviously a place that would get them clean and sober, so we'll put them there first. And it's like, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. Deontay says the director just didn't give a shit about anything, and Billy said they may as well have just put Nurse Ratched in the movie. It was pretty bad, and the scenes were almost unwatchable. And then I can't help but compare it to my favorite movie of all time, which is The Crow from 1994. Ben says, a volunteer mental health facility, or did they get arrested and then put into a mental health program? They got arrested and then put into a mental health program for drug use. That being said, it's still way more brutal than I would assume an actual facility is. They like had these kids like beating the shit out of each other to like reform them. They were like attacking Eric, and it was part of the program. They're like, they were doing like group therapy where like 12 of them were sitting in a circle, and part of that therapy was that they push him against the wall and mistreat him and verbally abuse him, like just to get him to like talk. It was all over the place. But anyway, not good. Would not recommend going to that kind of treatment facility for sure. That being said, there in the original 1994 Crow, we meet Eric and Shelley when they're already together. Now, the thing about Eric and Shelley, the biggest, most important thing you need to know about these two characters is that they are goths. They live in a rough part of town, and they are good people. Like, Eric is a rock star, but a good person. Like, he's into some stuff that classically people think is like gets you into some bad shit, but Eric's not into bad shit. He's just a good dude who likes rock music. And Shelley is his goth girlfriend, and they hang out and they do goth stuff together. And they're like loving, and they're like the only loving family support structure for Sarah, the little girl in the movie that Eric takes care of. Well, if they had decided to call these characters anything else besides Eric Draven and Shelley, it probably wouldn't have been as bad, But they took those characters that are this loving, beautiful goth couple that are this shining light in this dark city and made them fucking awful, drug addicted, asshole people who do not give a shit about anyone else. And it was like taking the legacy of Brandon Lee's character and just pissing all over it like it never existed. It was for me personally, it just made me so fucking angry just to watch that part.
If there was, you said this was where they meet and everything, right?
Yeah.
If they had shown a bit more and did like a character arc to where they became those people, like showing like, yeah, they went through a lot of hell before they became the nice, caring people they are now, would that have been better to you?
It would have been better. The problem is that 6 hours of the movie is them doing this thing where they get together and start a relationship before they even get into any of the crow shit in the movie. It takes for fucking ever to get to the story while you're watching the movie. And I get a need to like establish the narrative and establish the characters and establish motive. The original Crow, that took like 3 minutes and it made sense. This one, it takes like 45 minutes. It's awful.
So they basically didn't take anything from all the superhero movies that have come out in the past 2 decades of origin stories either need to be fast or ignored.
Yes, and that wouldn't have been so bad, but then you juxtapose that with the fact that, and Deontay kept saying it as a joke, that this was Machine Gun Kelly as the Crow. It literally is Machine Gun Kelly with black hair as the Crow. Like, it is so, like, that is exactly what they were going for. It is so bad. He literally wears the big, like, puffy feather coat at one point in the scene with, like, black leather pants, and it's like, who thought this was a good idea? Like, who looked at the goths, the like 90s goth scene from the original Crow and was like, what's the closest we can get to that? Mumble rap and face tattoos. That's exactly what the new goth scene is in the United States. Billy said it's definitely the RoboCop reboot of Crow movies. My hate and vitriol for this film goes so much further, but I do want to say, weirdly enough, even though this is the biggest piece of shit I have ever seen, it is still the second best Crow movie to have ever been made. It still tops all the other 4 or the other 3 Crow movies that came after the original Crow. It's better than those 3 pieces of shit and the TV series, but it's just so far removed from the original movie. Very bad. That being said, the Deontay said City of Angels, LMAO. Yeah, City of Angels is a movie. It's got the Crow in it. So then we actually get to the stuff where he's actually the Crow. Like, he dies, they die next to each other. He goes to this purgatory place. So again, I'm comparing the stories. The original Crow, he dies. What's the word I'm looking for?
Autopsy?
Not autopsy. When they take all your organs and shit out. That's not an autopsy. An autopsy is just seeing how you died. Doesn't matter. Anyway, they prepare him for death. They bury him. He goes in the ground in a coffin. And then a year later, the Crow resurrects him and he digs his way out of the ground and then comes back for revenge. In this, they kill him. And about an hour later, he comes back for revenge from this place in purgatory. And then Billy said, I'll stick to my review of it by saying that it is better than Alien Resurrection. Also a very low bar. But anyway, after he dies, he goes to this place in purgatory and he gets this explanation of how his powers are going to work. And one of them is that he's got to be like confident in his love for Sarah or his powers won't work. Which again, not a thing with the Crow. That is not a part of his abilities. It does not matter. He's back for revenge. The love that he had for her is what brings her back. The power's not going to go away because he's not going to stop loving her. That's why he came back. But anyway, they write it into the story. Whoever holds this Crow, may he be worthy, will possess the power of the Crow. And they play it in the movie. Like, he gets like some doubts about her and his powers go away. And it's like, and so he gets shot. He doesn't heal. He dies. He goes to purgatory. And then he sells his soul to get the Crow powers back, which he's already dead. And he's already trying to save Shelly because she's in hell. And so he swaps souls with her, which doesn't really make a lot of sense anyway. But that way he gets to be the Crow again and go back and save her. So he's going to go to hell. And then instead of the Crow narrative, which is that their souls will be laid to rest after Eric gets revenge, now Shelly's going to be resurrected and like she never died if he can kill everybody that killed them.
Okay.
Right. Which then he comes back with the actual Crow abilities that, that Brandon Lee starts the movie with in the original. Again, we're like an hour into the movie at this point. So now he's got the Crow powers. And then he goes to his buddy's tattoo shop, kills a bunch of people, and then decides to put the Crow makeup on. So in the original Crow, Shelly had the tragedy and comedy masks hanging on her like bureau, and Eric looked at them, and that's what he did the Crow face paint from. This Crow face paint that you can see right here on this Crow figure, right there. But anyway, so he sits down with this tattoo ink, and instead of so Shelly also in this movie has the tragedy and comedy faces, but she has them tattooed on herself. And so as a part of their relationship, her and Eric both get these tattoos done. So Eric literally has the Crow's makeup tattooed on his body to look at it. He's got a reference right here, like on the back of his hand, of the actual tears and smile. And instead of using that, which they bothered to put in the movie, he just smears ink down his face like this. Like he doesn't do the slashes or this. He smears ink like this down the sides of his face. Does not do the Crow makeup at all. And it's really dumb. And then he goes on this like John Wick style murder spree where he goes to the opera. And I know Landon, how dangerous the opera can be. But he goes to the opera. Huh?
They got phantoms and shit.
Yeah, he goes to the opera to find the big bad guy, and he's not there. But you know who is there? An entire special forces team of guards protecting this opera in like LA. Like they're like fully locked and loaded with like guns and assault rifles and wearing nice suits protecting the opera. Why the hell they have a full SWAT team protecting the opera? I have no idea. No idea at all. But this Eric Draven shows up and these guys are just trying to do their job. Obviously they didn't have anything to do with him and his girlfriend getting killed. So he murders all of them. He shows up with a katana and kills all of them. He never says a word to any of them. He never asks them where the bad guy is. He doesn't start a conversation. He's not like, hey, you guys mind if I come in here? I just want to look at something. He walks in the door and starts killing people for no reason. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. The action was good. The fight choreography was fun. The reasoning behind it is so stupid. It makes no sense whatsoever. And then he finally like kills off all the people that killed him and Shelly. He gets his revenge, and then he fights the big bad. And they do this whole thing where like every time he falls in water, he goes to purgatory. That doesn't happen. He throws the guy through a fucking mirror, and then they go to purgatory. And then he's losing the fight, even though they're in the place where all of his power comes from. And then he finds a way to kill the guy, like finally. And then Shelly gets resurrected like nothing ever happened. The guy in purgatory that was like training him to be the Crow comes back too. So he gets his life back. And then Eric ends up living in this purgatory space, being there to train the next Crow after his roughly 3 hours on the job. So 2 out of 10 stars. Fight scenes are good. Movie's shit. It's painful to watch, and they could definitely shorten the movie down to about 30 minutes and still maintain and improve it greatly. Billy says the opera scenes were pretty cool, though. There should have been more of that. Yeah, it would have been great. I just needed some plot that made sense for that part, because otherwise it was like, what the hell? Jody Lee Meredith says they should have just used Jared Leto and used cutscenes. It's not far off. It really is not far off. The Jared Leto Joker and this version of the Crow, not terribly far from each other, and it's bad. Also on the release of the movie, I think this is hilarious. So it's had its first weekend now. The Crow 2024 was the worst box office opening of 2024. It made $4.6 million on a $50 million budget in its opening weekend. The director of the original 1994 Crow movie, Alex Proyas, took to social media to say, "I thought the remake was a cynical cash grab. Not much cash to grab, it seems." That was his quote on it. And then during the release of the film, he took to social media. He shared negative fan reactions, review videos, posts criticizing the reboot while simultaneously praising his original film. And one story that resonated with fans a lot involved a Facebook post in which a fan talked about meeting another fan with an epic Crow movie arm tattoo and learning that that fan's father used to help balance his ADHD as a young man by putting on the Crow, which would settle him down. The fan's father passed away, and the tattoo stands as a testament to their connection, as well as the legacy of the original Crow star, Brandon Lee, who lost his life while filming the movie. So, what was a celebration of a man's life and a testament to his final film before he died has become this terrible, shameless cash grab with hardly any, all half-baked ideas and no good plot. And so, when it hits streaming services, check it out. Do not spend your money to go to the theater to see this movie. If you can find it online for free, maybe watch it that way. And if you can't find it online for free, hit me up. I can send you a link. But anyway, so that is The Crow.
Are you going to be okay?
I'm fine. I just had to get that out of my system.
Do you need a hug?
Yes. Yeah, I do need a hug. I need a Landon hug. Jessica Christian said, and I can't see the quote because you're hovering on it. Thanks, Landy. That makes it all better. I'm going to hug my Crow and put him back on the shelf. But anyway, Jessica Christian says, so what you're saying is start with watching this version so I can be simply blown away by the original. Yeah, or don't start with this version. Just watch the original. Save your time. And Deontay, I completely agree with Deontay saying so many different Crow heroes to choose from, and they violated Eric and Shelley. It would have improved the movie vastly by giving them any other names, and not the name of Brandon Lee and his movie girlfriend's characters from the original Crow film. Like that's the worst thing they did out of all of it, was to take that character that has already been in a very, the greatest, in my personal opinion, the greatest movie ever made, and then use that same character when anyone can be the Crow. You don't need to use Eric Draven's name to make that movie. But anyway, also the trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 dropped earlier this week or last week. And it features our first on-screen appearances we're getting of Shadow the Hedgehog, voiced by Keanu Reeves. It looks like it's going to be a blast. It seems like they've really gotten Shadow's powers down correctly. He's doing a lot of it looks like teleportation, but it's actually his ability to stop time and then move, which is what makes it appear that he's faster than Sonic, even though he isn't, because nothing's faster than Sonic the Hedgehog. It features Idris Elba's Knuckles. Tails is back. Jim Carrey is back as Dr. Robotnik. He's also back as Dr. Robotnik's dad. He's playing both roles. There's a little stinger at the end of the trailer featuring him meeting his father, which is pretty exciting. James Marsden is back as, I forget his character's name, but the guy that's like Sonic's best friend. And it just looks fun. There's a lot of homages to there's the Akira motorcycle slide. There's a ton of anime reference in the way they're shooting it. And all of the Sonic films to date have just been fun. And I think this will be no different. This is going to be a fun film.
I will admit a sin here today. I have not seen any of the Sonic movies.
They're not gonna win an Academy Award for greatest acting. They're just fun.
Yeah.
They're enjoyable. We're living in an era where we got a good Super Mario Brothers movie and a good Sonic the Hedgehog film, and they're continuing that trend. We're getting Legend of Zelda too. They're currently working on an animated Legend of Zelda in the same vein as the Super Mario Brothers movie. So as long as they can keep this trend of just making okay to watch versions of these characters, I love it. But yeah, I'm excited about this new Sonic the Hedgehog. Shadow looks like he's wearing those shoes that let you grind to. Dude, I love grind shoes. I loved my grind shoes. I used to have a set. Me and a couple of friends, whenever I was in high school, all bought grind shoes, and then we tore apart my parents' swing set and then propped the like rails and everything up like in different places in the yard. And we'd like run and grind across them. I just wanted you to know how cool I was.
But you sound very cool.
I know it's how cool I am. I had grind shoes; they were awesome.
You were really awesome and cool in 1998.
Right. I'm not saying that every time I did a rail slide, I kicked my feet in the air and said radical, but I might have. I might have.
I believe that you did, but I have no proof of this, so I can't back it up with anything.
You have to remember at this point in my life, I was also full on goth Danny. So really, no, I was not. I was like, I would like grind and be like, that didn't hurt as much as my life does. The sweet sound of this metal on metal is the only thing that can save me from the pain of my existence. That would probably be something more like what I was saying at the time. My daughter says, don't let him fool you. He was not cool. That's just the Dunning-Kruger effect right there. You have no way to judge that. What else did I say we were going to talk about today? Was that the list?
I think that was...
Because I think we have another list. That's right. It's the hit list.
I wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready for the transition. I also have this really cool Darkseid figure, or Darkseid figure. Darkseid. I go back and forth on it. It's just the way it's spelled. But he's got smashing action. Anyway, this week on the hit list, we are talking about the your five favorite corruption arcs. Now, this is just a story where somebody was good or kind of good or good adjacent and then became an awful human being, and the bittersweet feeling that leaves us with. Billy Rhodes says, I've completely forgotten everything about the list. Is it because of Darkseid's smashing action? Because I'll do it again.
Can we get a side view of that?
There you go. Now you have a side view of Darkseid's smash action. One thing's really cool. You can't see it on here, but like his eyeballs, focus camera, god damn it. His eyeballs have a red, that's like a red piece of plastic. And so if you put light through here, the omega beams shoot out of his eyes. So yeah, I love that figure. It's old as heck. But anyway, so this week we are doing top 5 corruption arcs. That can be any character who was kind of good and then went very bad or kind of bad, or you just felt like they could have been better. I'm not going to judge. Throw your list out there. Well, we'll definitely judge you though. Deontay would, or no, Deontay, you've already got your number 5 in, but Landon, would you be so kind as to give me your number 5?
I'm flattered you get me and Deontay mixed up. So, sometimes in comics, a character goes bad because of plot reasons, and it fits narratively. Other times, a character goes bad because it's fan service, and the writer was forced to do it because that's what execs thought the fans wanted. Other times, a character goes bad because it's to send a message. And you gotta keep in mind about the morality of the times when the character comes and what is bad for the time. My number 5 is the time Speedy got addicted to heroin. Now,
Roy Harper.
This happened in 1971, where like the world of Dare wasn't thought of yet, but it existed. It was in the general mindset. And people just in general believed that if you did drugs, you were a bad person. And so DC decided to try to teach the youth about the dangers of getting on the horse by making Speedy addicted to heroin. And his reasoning was he felt a little lonely being abandoned by Green Arrow. And there's just not much more to say about that. It's my favorite in how batshit insane it was and how everybody thought that was okay in 1971.
Right. So the story is that Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, and Green Lantern Hal Jordan went on a mission, or went on a driving tour of the countryside to see what America really looked like. Now, Ollie is a rich, like, hippie type, and Hal is a military type, and they didn't see eye to eye, and they went on this this tour of the countryside to see what America really looked like. And at the end of their tour of seeing America, they came back home, and Ollie finds Roy with a needle in his arm. And then, because it's the 70s, instead of being like, "Oh my God, what happened? How can we help you?" he fires him and kicks him out of his house and leaves him in the streets.
Yep.
Because that's what you do whenever your teenage, not son, your teenage helper ends up becoming addicted to drugs. In the 70s, you just got rid of them.
Yeah. And that's awful. And Billy, I know I don't want you to think that my tone suggests this. I am saying responding in the way that Danny just described is fucked up.
Yeah.
And that people thinking that just because you do drugs, you're morally bankrupt is also kind of fucked up.
Billy, 100 points to you for that observation. That was hilarious.
But yeah, and like, I didn't have it on the full panel there because I didn't want to show drugs on screen for reasons. But it really is just like Green Lantern is like, oh, you think you're so smart, Ollie. You think you're so clever about everything. Well, did you know your sidekick's a drug addict?
Yeah, really knocked him down a peg.
It's like, wow, Hal, you're an ass. Okay.
Billy says, if I got addicted to heroin, I would get fired. That attitude hasn't changed. Yes-ish. I mean, if you were I'm assuming at this point Roy was like 15 years old. If you catch a kid doing hard drugs, like hard drugs, and you just throw them out and never have anything to do with them after the fact, you're a piece of shit.
Especially when you are like a surrogate dad.
Yeah, absolutely. That too. Like, Roy deserved better.
Yeah. But it was also the 70s, so, you know.
Yeah, what we got in chat?
Deontay's number 5 is Obito Uchiha from Naruto Shippuden.
Yeah. Spoilers for Naruto Shippuden. If you haven't seen it, cover your ears for a couple of seconds. But Obito is of the Leaf Village. He's Kakashi's best friend. He's a spunky little hero, and then he dies in a very heroic way. But he doesn't die. He actually survives, and then sides with God, what is his name? Madara Uchiha, in an effort to destroy the Leaf Village. And Obito becomes one of the biggest villains of the Naruto storyline, and then gets his redemption in the end. But either way, Obito, great character. You skipped Billis.
No, I was just...
Emma says that's not how you pronounce Shippuden. It absolutely is. It's Naruto Shippuden.
Billy Rhodes, number 5 is Skeets, Booster Gold's robot friend from New 52. I can't remember exactly why at the moment, but at one point he was evil.
God, I wish I could help you with this, Billy, but I was so disenfranchised by New 52 that I barely read anything in that, and was so happy when they finally called it to an end. But Booster, in the main DC continuity, is the keeper of the timeline. It is his job. Oh, she was saying Landon said it wrong. Is the keeper of the main continuity. He is the protector of all space and time, and he plays it off by pretending to be a lovable idiot. So I imagine if Skeets went bad at some point, that puts the entire timeline in danger because Booster relies on him. What else we got?
Jessica Christian's number 5 is Vegeta.
Yeah, so the Majin Vegeta storyline, where Vegeta is this loving, caring father who's married and happy and does housework, and then decides that he has become too weak by not fighting regularly, and then decides to take on the power of the Majin abilities and becomes a very bad person for a little while. And then is eventually able to break the hold on that and then sacrifices himself to save his family. But yeah, bad man himself, Vegeta, for sure.
Kenpachi's number 5 is Yuga
Oyama.
Oyama, My Hero Academia.
Who saw it coming? You know, the guy with the naval laser was going to be one of the big bads of MHA. But yeah, that whole corruption arc where you find out that the one, like, the silliest character in the school is actually the one putting everyone in danger. I know that it caught a lot of people off guard in the manga, and I know that in the anime it will do the same.
Neat. Now I have something to look forward to when I get caught up on the anime.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, I don't give a shit about spoilers.
Let me quote Nice Pool. Sorry.
Ben Stewart's number 5 is Professor Snape.
Yeah, Snape starts out as an awkward, weird kid with dreams of doing something with his life, and then he becomes a full-on Death Eater and is responsible for the death of many wizards. I'm assuming that's the corruption part, because then he finds his way back to the good side and stays there through the remainder of the Harry Potter storyline. So, yeah, and Alan Rickman, man. F in the chat for Alan Rickman. Who doesn't miss that man?
Everyone misses Alan Rickman.
Everyone misses Alan Rickman.
Even if you weren't a Harry Potter fan, you miss Alan Rickman.
Yeah. Love Actually? I mean, come on. He's such an asshole in that movie.
But I believe that's
Die Hard,
from
the original Die Hard. You know,
Yeah.
Hans Gruber. It's Alan Rickman, man. Snape is literally awful. He was a horrible person as a child. Love Alan Rickman, though. Yeah. I miss Alan Rickman. Me too, Deontay. My number 5 comes from the world of DC Comics. Strangely, I have a lot of these on here. But my number 5 is the Red Hood, also known as Jason Todd, the second Robin. So Jason, the Robin who became Batman's ward because he stole the wheels off of the Batmobile. And Batman was like, quit that. And then Jason was like, I'm a bad kid. And Batman was like, come be my Robin and I'll reform you. And then he took him off the streets, and he was the world's most annoying Robin, and everyone hated him. And I hate that I said that right before my daughter posted I'm literally him. And everyone did not care for Jason Todd. Fast forward a couple of years, DC decides sales are down. They're going to do a fun little gimmick. The Joker catches Jason after his mother, Jason's mother, a junkie, sells her soul, sells her son for her next hit to the Joker. And the Joker catches Robin and beats the shit out of him with a crowbar, and then leaves him tied up in a chair with a bomb. And DC Comics, in the back of the comic, left a 1-800 number that you could call to vote whether you wanted Batman to save Jason Todd Robin or not. And he was unanimously voted to not be saved, and they blew up the warehouse and he died. And he stayed in sidekick hell with Bucky Barnes for almost the exact same amount of time. And then around the time that Bucky came back in the comics, in the Marvel comics, Red Hood started to show up. And actually, he makes his first appearance in the Batman Hush storyline, where he shows up, and he was thought to be Hush, and then it turned out that he was not, and then that was actually Clayface pretending to be Jason Todd. But whenever Batman was seeing the pretend Jason Todd that was Clayface, the real Jason Todd was somewhere in the corner, like watching that whole thing go down. So he was still there. And he had been resurrected by Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul shortly after his death, and has been operating in the shadows as an anti-hero. And then he comes back to Gotham after Batman died in the comics in an attempt to take over his father's mantle and become the new Batman. And then Dick beat the shit out of him and told him, you're not Batman, I am. And then that was the status quo for a little while. And then they brought him back again as the edgy anti-hero version, the Red Hood. But I love the arc. I love the fact that he was an absolutely hated comic book character, and he has come back as one of the coolest characters in all of DC Comics. I love Jason Todd so much. You will see that I actually have the Red Hood helmet. Big fan. Love the character. That's my number 5. Landon, what do you got for number 4?
My number 4 is a childhood trauma for me. It is somebody I thought was
That was such a weird pause. A childhood trauma for me.
I'm sorry, I was trying to like think.
It was like you were placing an order.
I-
Trauma for me. Anyway, carry on.
Oh fuck it, I lost my monologue. It's Lance Vance from Grand Theft Auto Vice City. I thought he was cool, and then he slowly turns on you as he gets more and more jealous of your success.
Yeah. But he gets his own in the end, right?
Oh yeah, of course
Yeah,
he does.
just blow him up with a rocket launcher. Stupid. I love Vice City. Vice City's the last GTA game I ever played.
Really?
Yep.
You didn't even play San Andreas?
Nope.
Oh god.
I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it as much.
Oh, that's
3 and Vice City I enjoyed. San Andreas, I was like, meh.
I love San Andreas. I think it's still one of my favorites.
I think it was the leveling part of it. I think it was the like strengthening your character and like
You didn't like the RPG part.
yeah,
of it.
the RPG aspects of the game took me out of it. I just wanted to run around and shoot shit. I didn't want to have to build a character.
Ah, that's fair, I guess. Anyway. Deontay's number 4 is Aaron Yeager from Attack on Titan.
Yeah, Aaron, like spoilers for Attack on Titan. I'm sorry if you haven't watched it yet. But Aaron starts out as the hero, and you're like, man, like the first time he gets fucking eaten by a Titan, you're like, what just happened? Is he gone? And then he comes back, and you're like, oh, cool, he's got Titan powers. And then he starts like kicking ass, and you're like, oh, he's the hero of this story, anime protagonist for life. And then by the last 2 seasons, Aaron goes completely crazy and decides that, you know, he just needs to destroy everyone and that'll solve the problems. And Aaron goes from hero to villain in the time that Attack on Titan happens. And then he sacrifices himself and all these people to like end this cycle. And then if you know the manga, and they kind of kept it in the anime as well, the cycle starts all over again. Like Aaron's sacrifice did nothing. Did you not know? Were you not?
Oh, I'm not caught up on. I did not finish my. Or,
Cool.
I've been spoiled twice so far. Let's see if we could do that for every tier in this list.
Ben said Aaron is still the hero even at the end. Did we watch a different show? I think that while his motivations by the end make him seem more heroic, the fact that he like abandons all of his friends and allows people that he was close to die to make those ends happen, and then it was all for nothing. I think, yeah, he's the villain.
I think if you threaten to kill the entire world, you might be a villain.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've learned that if you think the nuclear option is the best option, you're probably not a good guy.
Just because you have good intentions does not make you good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jessica Christian's number 4 is Poison Ivy. All she is doing is protecting those plants.
Yeah. Pamela Isley, a plant scientist who just wants to save the world. Things go very poorly for her. And she gains poison ivy abilities and then takes her revenge on humankind in general, but mostly powerful men. I love Poison Ivy, one of my favorite Batman villains. Absolutely.
Ben Stewart's number 4 is probably the first time I saw this actually, Tetsuo Shima from Akira.
Tetsuo! Yeah, so Tetsuo, poor little kid, gets picked on, gets beaten up, has no real power. God, what is his name? There's Tetsuo, and I forget his name for a second. That's gonna bug me. Anyway, somebody put the name of this character in the. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he gets protected by him all of his life, and then in a freak accident gains incredible abilities similar to Akira, and then goes on a path of wholesale slaughter and an attempt to destroy the military and the people that are trying to control him, and then ends up resurrecting the actual Akira at the end of the movie, who comes to get his revenge on all of the planet. Canada. It's yeah, Canada.
Canada.
Yeah, it's Tetsuo in Canada or Canada in the American ocean dubs. It was like Tetsuo Canada. Okay, this character with the cool ass motorcycle, which I also have. Check out this bad boy. Yeah, everybody wanted one of these after watching. Yeah, Canada. Everybody wanted one of these after watching Akira. And this is actually right here behind me. Camera's messed me up. It's to the other side. This is actually the Akira manga right here. That's all 6 chapters, which actually was made after the movie and expands on the story. Pretty cool.
Neat.
Anyway, Landy, what else we got in chat?
Billy Rhodes, number 4 is Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore and a cameo in Beverly Hills Cop Axel F at the beginning. Yeah, he was a little prickish, but he was still a respected professional golfer.
Yeah, he does go into a full-on mental spiral at the end of the movie and goes from like jealous golf antagonist to full-on villain for sure.
Kenpachi Zaraki's number 4 is Lelouch Lampereau from Code Geass.
I feel like I've watched Code Geass, but I don't know that I remember this story, and I apologize, Kenpachi.
I also apologize because I'm pretty sure I butchered that name.
Emma Stewart says Harvey Dent might be my favorite Batman villain. That's a great corruption arc right there. The White Knight of Gotham becoming one of its biggest villains, for sure.
Always depends on the story, but yeah.
It does. It depends on who's writing it, because, yes. My number 4 also comes from the world of DC Comics and the Mortal Kombat video games, and it is the Injustice Superman. In a world where the Joker tricks Superman into killing Lois Lane with his own hands, Superman cracks a little bit and decides that since the world can't stay in line and people can't listen, he's just going to do it for them. And he becomes this authoritarian ruler, totalitarian authoritarian ruler who takes over the planet. And he's an unstoppable god. So, the Batman opposes him, and they pair up into 2 different teams and fight, which is the story of the video game. But of all of the evil Supermen that we have seen in the comics, the one who turned because of that trauma is probably the most dangerous, I would say, because he thinks what he's doing is right, as opposed to the Ultraman from the crime syndicate knows he's evil, so he thinks less of himself. But yeah, Landon, what do we have as your number 3?
My number 3 just tickles the fun little kid part of my brain, and that is Spider-Man turning into Man-Spider. Every time there is a storyline where Spider-Man's mutation goes even further and he becomes a giant spider, it always makes me go, yes, actual Spider-Man. And it's just, in almost every story, besides that one with the weird lady that gives him biological web shooters, because that's a little creepy even for me. They're always awesome to me.
Yeah, the Spider-Man analog, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but the character from The Boys, where his spinneret is actually above his asshole, is where Spider-Man's organic webbing would have to come from for that to make sense. And it makes more sense that Peter made wrist-mounted web shooters and that's where his power, that's where his webs come out of, because he put them there, as opposed to the idea that a genetic change in your body puts spinnerets on your wrists, because that's not where those go on a spider. They're on their butthole. Web weaver, yes.
Web weaver. I mean, again, he's a man who gets transformed into a giant spider in that story. Like, there's not much hard science going on here.
It's valid. I when they gave Tobey Maguire Spider-Man organic webbing, and it was on his wrist like it is on Spider-Man's web shooters, I was like, did anyone think about this? Like, that is not where a spider, like, spiders don't shoot webs from their hands. They don't have hands, for starters, but also they're not on their arms. Their spinnerets are on their butts. Just made no sense. It made no sense when they made that decision. And when Stan Lee was like, I never thought about it. Maybe he should have organic webbing. I was like, no, Stan, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you agree to that? Don't do that. That's literally the only time in our storied history and friendship that Stan Lee and I ever disagreed. What do we got in chat?
Deontay's number 3 is Ozymandias from Watchmen.
Ozymandias falls into that same category of like Aaron. He just thought he was doing the right thing. He'd looked at it, he'd analyzed the situation, and he was like, you know what? Let's drop giant squid aliens all over the planet and then kill half the population in New York, and then we'll all have something to fight and we'll come together. And the coldest thing Ozymandias ever did was not explain his plan to the heroes until after he'd already done it.
Yeah.
And Alan Moore was on one when he wrote that. It's a great twist on the classic, like, bad guy telling his whole plan before he launches it. I love that.
Well,
Watchmen's right there.
What's that line? I already did it 38 minutes ago.
Yep.
Jessica Christian's number 3 is Michael Corleone from The Godfather. Yeah.
Michael Corleone from The Godfather. Yes, Michael, the white sheep of the family, the loved favorite child who can do no wrong, and is actually a pretty stand-up dude. Like, starts out like a really nice guy who just wants good things, and he ends up becoming the ruthless leader of a mob family because he has no choice, and it just a downward spiral into corruption and evil. So yeah,
man stepped up and slipped down.
That's how the kids say.
Kenpachi Saraki's number 3 is Hulk from Old Man Logan.
Yes, God, yes. Bruce Banner and his hot cousin Lovin', where him and his cousin Jen are making inbred babies out in the wastelands, becomes an awful landlord to Wolverine and kills his whole family. It's all bad. The Hulk is a bad dude in that. He's a not a good guy. It's probably the worst version of the Hulk, honestly, even worse than Maestro.
Not much good going on in that story, though.
No, yeah, that's true. It's a bad time for bad, or it's a good time for bad people and a bad time for good people in that story. But then it becomes a like Lone Wolf and Cub analog where Wolverine takes on a young Hulkling and they go on adventures in the wasteland. So that was fun. I really enjoy that.
The Venom T-Rex was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's true. Blind Hawkeye still firing arrows at people with his robot arm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some good stuff in there.
Yeah, general negative, but still good stuff. Billy Rhodes, number 3, is Dr. Leo Marvin from What About Bob? His family essentially abandoned him in favor of Bob, who was a huge pain in the ass and completely violated his relationship with his doctor.
Yeah, What About Bob is one of those crazy movies where it's like, this does not make sense. How does this happen? And the only way this makes any sense is because it's Bill Murray. And Bill fucking Murray is hilarious and endearing and one of the greatest human beings to have ever lived. And that's the only way Bob makes sense in that movie, because he's a fucking nut. And his Dr. Marvin's family sucks. So I'm with Dr. Marvin. I totally agree with his downward spiral into insanity by the end of the film.
Yeah, I mean, under those situations, yeah, it makes sense.
Yep.
Ben Stewart's number 3 is Ken Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah, just a kid who's never been on a date. He's like, hey, I'm a nerdy little kid from Japan who's never been on a date and never had a kiss. And I think that good things are going to happen to me. Nope. He gets turned into a zombie and has to fight against other crazy zombies. And he gets damaged to the point that he has a full-on psychotic split and finds his powers. I love Tokyo Ghoul. It's a great story, but man, I would not want to be Ken at all. Like his life is not good.
And I believe that is everything from chat.
My number 3, one of my least favorite comic book characters who just had one fun little bad turn for a minute there, and he was actually kind of enjoyable, and that's Cyclops. In the storyline with what's her name? Yeah, Hope. With the storyline with Hope Summers, Bishop was chasing her, trying to kill her to keep her from gaining the Phoenix abilities. The Phoenix abilities actually went to 5 other characters, which was Colossus, Namor, Cyclops, Emma Frost, and I want to say, I think it was Colossus's little sister, not Wiccan. What is her name? Doesn't matter. But anyway, but Cyclops becomes this like, he's had enough. Like enough is enough. It's time for a change, and he decides that the only way to save mutant kind is to kill off everyone that stands in their way. And he goes on this full on like bad guy tangent magic. Thank you, Kenpachi. I appreciate it. I'm not even sure that she was one of the Phoenix 5. I'm just having a hard time remembering the 5th member. But he goes on this full on rampage and just starts killing people and doing awful shit. And Professor X has to like come in and try to stop him. And then the Avengers have to try to fight him. And it might've been the only time Cyclops was cool, honestly. Landon, what do you have for number 2?
My number 2 is Wonder Woman from the Injustice series, just like your Superman. Now, Wonder Woman is incredibly ruthless in the Injustice series, and she feeds into Superman's growing ego and need for control over others in the series. And honestly, it all just kind of fits with her and her like sense of martial justice, if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like she's very much a person who would demonstrate power regularly, and to also feed into Superman falling into that sort of idea is it all fits. And I just think it's a natural expression of where this character would go in this situation.
Yeah, they're the worst kind of couple. They feed into each other's worst characteristics, and they push each other to just be worse all the time. And they protect each other and justify their actions by saying, you know, like, you had no other choice. It was the only way we could do it. You've deserved this power. Like, yeah, they're just like not the couple you want at the party for sure. Because, you know, when Superman decides to throw the whole Monopoly board against the wall, Wonder Woman's like, well, you guys shouldn't have been playing so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, absolutely. Bad couple, bad times. Great choice. What do we got in chat?
Kenpachi Zaraki's number 2 is Sasuke Uchiha.
Sasuke! Yeah, the Leaf Village's greatest, highest skilled ninja that Naruto spends his entire life trying to catch up to. Sasuke, you know, loved the Leaf Village, just wanted to hunt his brother down and kill him, and then found out that his brother was actually a good dude the whole time, and the Leaf Village was the problem. And then he decided to destroy the Leaf Village, and then Naruto's like, bro, the Leaf Village is my village. Leave it alone. Like, help me. And then Sasuke's like, you know what, Naruto? You're right. And then they become best friends again, and they start protecting the Leaf Village as the two Hokage. And yeah, Sasuke is like, when you first meet him, you're like, man, this kid's like cool. He can do no wrong. And then when he takes that bad turn between Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, and it's like, oh God, he's so bad now. When is he going to be good again? And then it takes the whole series before he comes back to help.
It takes the whole series before he's good again.
Yep, just in the end, he helps out with the fight against Madara, but he's not really on the Leaf Village's side. And then he and Naruto have a like full-on knockdown drag out like they did when they were kids, and they both blow each other's arms off. And then laying there, recovering from all the damage they've done to each other, they have a conversation finally. And Sasuke's like, "You're right, I was being a dick."
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. What else we got?
Jessica Christian's number 2 is Anakin Skywalker. You can't have a corruption list without Lord Vader.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna see a lot of number 1 Darth Vaders. I thought about putting him on my list. It was a very like I was immediately like, oh, Darth Vader, that's a great one. And then I was like, that's not fair. Like a ton of people are gonna want to put Darth Vader. Bold of you to put him as your number 2 choice, though, Jess. I am excited to see what your number 1 is. But yeah, absolutely. Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, the poor slave child who grew up on a poor planet with just his mom, and leaves as a small child and gets indoctrinated by a cult of crazy space wizards who lead him to believe that every positive or loving emotion that he has to be hidden, which then turns him into this psychopath, which is exactly what happens when you don't let people express happiness. And I don't know how the Jedi didn't figure this out earlier. They've been doing this for thousands of years, and they were just like, maybe this is a bad idea. But anyway, leads to a guy who literally helps somebody take over the entire universe or galaxy, helps somebody take over the entire galaxy just out of their bad choices and the things they did to this poor kid. Anakin deserved better.
It really is a story of a gifted kid having their mental health destroyed as they get older.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And he hates sand, god damn it. Gets everywhere.
Deontay's number 2 is Peter Parker, symbiote suit Spider-Man.
Every single version of Peter taking on the symbiote suit and becoming someone that he never, ever wanted to be. Peter Parker with unlimited power, just losing control. And not like Spider-Man isn't powerful to begin with, but with the corruption of the symbiote suit just becoming his worst self. Unless you think of Bully Maguire, which was kind of a fun version of evil Peter Parker.
A fun version, a nerd's idea of what it's like to be cool.
Right, yeah, and that's what I love about that version. It's like Peter has no actual frame of reference for what a cool person looks like, but he's like watched some old movies and he knows how those go.
He knows you slick back your hair and dress in all black.
Yeah, and you dance real good. Dancing kind of good is the way to. You gotta have nice moves.
And you go to jazz clubs.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, man. That's jazzy.
Ben Stewart's number 2 is Andrew Detmer from Chronicle. That movie was so damn good when it came out.
Absolutely. Chronicle it revolutionized superhero filmmaking and horror filmmaking simultaneously. It made the found footage genre okay to watch again, because prior to that we had Blair Witch and Cloverfield, both not good iterations of the found footage film genre. And then we get Chronicle, which does a great job of giving you the found footage story. Totally worthwhile. A great example of what happens when a bunch of teenagers get powers that are way too big for what their mind can handle. Chronicle is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also gave us Michael B. Jordan with his first set of superpowers before he became Johnny Storm and then became Killmonger.
How many more superpowers can he accrue?
I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I think we should just keep adding to that list, right?
How powerful can Michael B. Jordan be?
Right. He's going to get so powerful, he's going to have to drop the B, and he'll be the Michael Jordan. And then people will be like confused because they'll think he has 6 rings and is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And he'll be like, no, man, I do superhero movies. Anyway,
Billy Rhodes. Number 2 is Sideshow Bob's Italian wife and child. Once they find out Bob's obsession with killing Bart, they are immediately on board because they hate Bart too.
I feel like at that point in The Simpsons they were really phoning in the storylines, but yeah, that's I love the Simpsons, especially the good seasons, but I could talk about the Bart and Sideshow Bob rivalry forever, especially the trial where Bob proves that he didn't want to kill Bart and he wrote "Die Bart Die" on his chest, and then in the trial they're like, "Didn't you write Die Bart Die on your chest?" And he's like, "No. That's D Bart D. I'm celebrating him."
Nobody who speaks German could be a bad man.
Yeah. Billy said Blair Witch is awesome and probably the best iteration of found footage. God, I know you're trolling. I know you don't think that. I know you're fucking with me. How dare you, sir?
But that's everything in chat.
Well, Landon, are you ready
For your number 2?
for my number 2? Damn, he got me. My number 2, a hero previously mentioned with your number 5, which is Hal Jordan, the original, well, not the original, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and his turn to Parallax. After the cyborg Superman killed everyone in Coast City, Hal went crazy and decided that the best way that he could handle this is to gain all of the Green Lantern's powers. So he killed off all the other Green Lanterns in the Green Lantern Corps, took all of their power rings, and tried to use that power to restart all of time and space and create a universe where the cyborg Superman did not kill everyone on Coast City, which led into the 0 Hour storyline, which is actually celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And Parallax becoming a major villain in the Green Lantern stories. And then Hal sacrificed himself and he died, and then he became the Spectre for a while. And then Parallax became known as the power that powers the Yellow Lantern rings. And then they folded that into the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, and it was awful. So, who really got corrupted there? Kenpachi said Blair Witch Project was great on 1/8 of mushrooms. I laughed so hard I almost got thrown out of the theater and Wall on a blind double date. Great night. It does sound like a great night. Billy said, I honestly believe it. Maybe second only to the Kennedy assassination footage. Just, I don't even know if I should interact with that. Like, I feel like I'm going to get put on some kind of fucking watch list just for commenting on it. But anyway, Landon, now are you ready to give me your number 1? Landon, your number 1, please. I started out too hard on that.
So, fun fact, I once had the podcast playing over my earbuds while I was mowing the lawn. And with your number 1, you drowned out the lawnmower.
It's a real superpower. Keaton knew, who was in the chat earlier, and he edits our show for the podcast to the like audio only half of it. Said he got online and was starting on Cutting Edge Hero since we've made the change in the show. And he said it'd been so long, he honestly forgot about it. And he said he saw like a spike in the audio and he was like, well, what is this? And he turned his headphones way up and then it hit. And like he said, it felt like it was going to blow his eardrums. He was like, God damn it.
God, you nearly killed Keaton with
I
just
know.
your voice.
And he's such a sweet little boy.
He
And by
truly
little
is.
boy, I mean 24-year-old man. So Landon, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is a dear personal hero of mine. It's Satan. Sweet dear Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Started out as an angel, God's closest confidant, and started to believe, hey, I could do this better. I could do this shit better.
Yeah,
And what
he
did
was
he
middle
get for it?
management. He just wanted a promotion.
Yeah. The man worked for the promotion.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened was he got sent down to his own realm of existence, hell, for it.
Right. But like people think of that as like, he got cast out, but like he's literally second in charge.
Yeah.
He's literally the boss under the boss. Like he's the CFO of the company.
He takes care of all the rejects, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's the special team. He's the special team coach, like God's the head coach and Satan is like special teams.
Yeah. If God's A team, then Satan's the B team. He takes care of everything else.
Absolutely. Like he's one step removed from running the show,
Yes, truly.
Like, and he's constantly like, hey, just give me a chance. And we're like, no, not cool. And he's like, please, can I try?
Well, I gave Satan a chance in my heart.
You got to let him in. Anyway, what else do we have in chat? Now that the Southern Baptist Church is knocking down my back door.
Kenpachi Zaraki's number 1 is Walter White, Breaking Bad. Love this series. Truly one of a kind story of a good man becoming a bad man. So good.
Yeah, I love Breaking Bad. I love the fact that Walter White's decision to become a drug overlord and take over crime in his little New Mexico town is entirely based on the fact that his health insurance wouldn't cover his cancer treatments. Because why the fuck else do you have insurance? And that is the world we live in. And the only plausible solution to this was to start cooking fucking meth. And it's so not a thing that you should do, but also like the guy was dying of cancer and needed a way to save himself, and it worked.
Well, he got a couple of outs along the way and chose not to take them.
That is all true. I'm just saying the start of that story where the insurance and medical machine that is ruining so many lives in this country is what led to Walter White becoming what he was is so appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
At least that's where my head's at. If I ever get cancer, I'm going to start cooking meth.
I think I'll just start chemo.
No, you don't understand. I have to. Trying to cure myself with meth.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel like I didn't understand the point of Breaking Bad.
Nobody did. Go online. There's tons of edits of like Walter White being based in Chad and shit. Yeah. And it's just him being the worst fucking human being. Anyway. Deontay's number 1 is Omni-Man, Invincible.
Yeah, and it's hard to even call it a corruption arc when Omni-Man was just hiding the fact that he was Space Hitler for like a long time and then just decided like, yep, time to take over the world. But yeah, it's the redemption arc of Omni-Man's life is compelling. The fact that he came to Earth with the intent of just enslaving its populace and killing everyone that didn't listen to him is like crazy. And one of my favorite comic characters. And I love a good Superman analog, especially when the story is like the story is compelling, and because it's so rare that you find a compelling Superman story. And usually when people take the character and do a little twist to him, that's whenever he's a lot more interesting. And Omni-Man is way up on the list as far as one of the coolest Superman analogs to have ever been created. Deontay said it was a very short run as a hero. It's true.
Billy, what version of the Bible have we read? Billy, don't you remember the Bible? Don't you remember the baseball arc? Don't you remember? Don't you remember the side story where Satan quit his job for like half a season and started a bakery in downtown San Diego?
Yeah. What Bible are you reading? That's my question.
Don't you remember seeing the deleted scene where God and Satan finally kissed?
I thought we were never going to get it on screen, and thank God for the be real.
Thank God for those DVD extras.
Yeah. It's like it seems a little fan servicey to drop it after the fact, though. Like where are the balls to leave it on an actual, But I guess at that point you just have to blame production.
The editing team, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like executives like to meddle in on that side of things a lot too.
It seems like the creators really compromised their vision for money at the end of the day.
I heard he had a daughter named Charlie who was trying to help demons redeem themselves. Yeah. I heard that too. But crazy what she did to that hotel.
I didn't know what he was referencing, and now I do. I have watched Hazbin Hotel.
I have seen none of it.
It's fun. It's got a great cast. Hazbin Hotel has a great cast. I've not watched the original. I've just watched the newer one.
I've heard it is good.
Yes. I've also heard good things. We got another number ones in the chat. Yeah,
Yes.
we've got Jessica's.
Jessica Christian's number one. So if we can go from bad to good in these corruption stories, my number one is Loki Laufeyson. If we can't go to the good side, I have a backup.
Why don't we do both? So Loki Laufeyson, in the MCU made the change from being a villain to being a hero to then saving the entire sacred timeline. It was a great arc of him going from, wanting a throne to having to take a throne that he didn't want, but doing it because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, absolutely. Billy said it was a weird non-denomination church. I must have grown up with some weird version of the Bible, I guess. To be fair, Billy, every version of the Bible is weird. Anyway, my number one, and Jess, go ahead and throw your other one in there whenever you get a second. My number one is the Joker. So there are multiple origin stories for the Joker. There is the one where he was a struggling comedian, and his wife got in bad with the mob, and they killed her. And then to make ends meet, he took on the mantle of the Red Hood and was trying to just get the money to pay the mob back. And then Batman knocked him off into a vat of experimental acid. And then he turned into the Joker that we know. And then he came home to find his wife dead. And then he had a full mental break and became hyper sane, like the Joker is. Or then there's the story of his dad beating on him and becoming violent, and him seeing his dad kill himself and his mother in front of him. And that's what led to him going crazy. But there's a lot of different Joker origins out there, whether you're talking about the movies or the comic books. DC does not have a definitive Joker origin that they've ever used or agreed on. He's been a lot of different characters. He's been Jack Napier. He's been what is this character in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker? Arthur Fleck. He's been Arthur Fleck a couple of times. But the Joker starts out as a guy with the best of intentions, just trying to make ends meet and take care of the people in his life. And bad things happen to him, and he becomes the Joker, the number one greatest villain of all time, and this crazy character. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but in a full circle moment, my number 5 was Red Hood, and my number 1 was Red Hood. You're welcome. Jessica Christian's other alternate number 1 was Mystique. Mystique. Again, depending on the story, if you're looking at the First Class movies, she starts out as a hero and Charles Xavier's best friend and then ends up being a villain. If you're looking at the comics, she starts out as a normal person who finds she has these abilities and then falls in love and then has to hide that love and then has a kid and then has to hide that kid and then grows up to hate mankind because of the things that they did to her and because of the bigotry. And, Mystique has a tragic story in almost every iteration where she didn't want to become the way she is. She was kind of forced that way. Billy said, I almost forgot. Oh, you want to read his?
Yeah. Billy Rhodes, number 1. Oh, I almost forgot. 1, the chef from The Menu. Although he is still the hero in my heart.
I haven't seen The Menu yet. Have you seen it?
I have not seen The Menu.
Unfortunately, Billy, much like when you go into random Star Trek lore that we cannot follow you in, I have no idea what you're talking about. I really do need to see that movie. Ben's number one is from the Stormlight archive. He said Sadius, that big dumb idiot. God, I hate him. I hate him too, Ben. I am with you. And for all of us in the chat and on the show who have also read the Stormlight archive, fuck Sadius. Let's get a fuck Sadius in the chat. Fuck that guy. He's the worst. Ben said the menu is great. My daughter Emma says I love the menu. I should probably watch it eventually. I just haven't yet. That's on me. And Sadius corruption arc is like, he's a bad dude always. Like, he's corrupt from the beginning. He's just the fucking worst. Like, literally the worst. Probably one of the worst characters to have ever been created in any story of all time ever. Fuck Sadius.
I guess it's still a corruption arc if you go from bad to worse.
Yeah, he does. He does too. He goes from bad to way worse and stupid. And I hope awful things happen to him. I know some things, but obviously spoilers for Ben, so I won't talk about it. But anyway, so that has been our hit list for the week. So we did last week. We did redemption arcs. This week we did corruption arcs. Landon, what do you think next week? Want to keep with the biblical theme and do salvation arcs where somebody else saves somebody?
Ooh, sacrifices.
Sacrifices?
Yeah.
Okay, next week we are doing our 5 favorite sacrifice arcs or stories or characters. Sacrifices. So top 5 sacrificial stories.
Neutral arcs.
Top 5 neutral arcs.
Billy.
Yes, your 5 favorite arcs where nothing really happened. And Emma said the chef is misunderstood, and I sadly understand his detest for rich people makes so much sense, and he is horrible for what he did and the end. Billy said neutral arcs, absolutely nothing changes, nobody learns anything. But anyway, top 5 are 5 favorite salvation arcs next week on the hit list. But for this week, this has been the hit list. Landon, we kept it under 2.5 hours. I'm proud of us.
That is impressive. We're getting better. Holy shit.
We're getting better. Yeah, we're improving. Every day we're getting a little bit better. Next week, we might keep it under 2 hours. We'll see. Now,
I don't want to strain something, Danny.
Right. Now, if that is your idea of not a good time and you prefer that we keep the show going at 2+ hours, just let us know in the chat. We're going to be more than happy to keep going. Billy said, what is a salvation arc? No, sacrifice. Sorry. We're doing sacrifice arcs. So stories where somebody either sacrificed themselves or sacrificed somebody else, or were sacrificed. You know, it could be, you could be sacrificed by a group of people as well, I guess, not just one person.
I mean, I suppose so.
Like the way Dumbledore sacrificed Harry repeatedly, book after book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every time he's like, you survived? Okay. See if we can do next time. But anyway, that has been the show for this week. Love each and every one of you. Thank you for jumping into the chat. Thank you for being here. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. Landon, you want to say anything to the nice people?
Just like always, thank you for coming out and watching and chatting with us.
If you are keeping an eye on Cape Events socials and my social as well, and I guess I should start sharing this stuff to Cutting Edge Heroes social as well, we are announcing our next guest for CapeCon in the morning. The current roster is David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in Terrifier, and the director, Damien Leone from Terrifier, Josh Keaton, voice of the Spectacular Spider-Man from the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, as well as young Hercules from the original Hercules Disney movie. Andrew Gray, the Red Ranger from Power Rangers Mega Force. We are also featuring Afua Richardson, Marvel artist, Marvel and DC cover artist and internal artist, who also did all of the Spider-Punk art in Into the Spider-Verse. So if you're a fan of Into the Spider-Verse, she is coming to the show. Maria Wolf, who is also a DC and Marvel comic cover and internal art artist, will be here as well. We've got more guests, but I don't know. Oh, and for those of you who are fans of the 1980s cult classic action film The Last Dragon, Timok, the main character who plays Leroy Green, or Bruce Leroy if you're nasty, will also be here all weekend signing autographs and meeting greeting people. We still have several guests to announce for the show. We are not even remotely close to being done yet, and we're about 2 months out. You can get your tickets online at the Show Me Center website, and you can buy your gold boxes, which comes with the custom swag that you can only get at Cape Con, online at cape-events.com. Buy your tickets now. It's going to be a great fucking time. I cannot wait to show you guys everyone we have coming this year, and it's going to be awesome. So anyway, for everyone here at Cutting Edge Hero, for Ben, for Landon, for me, for Keaton, for all of the production team, we love you guys. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.
See y'all.